Hello and welcome to another out of spec detailing video here from Clear Detailing in Northern Colorado. Next to me here is our brand new car. This is a 2024 Kia EV9 in the land trim. We just traded out our 2023 Volkswagen ID4 and really upped our game in terms of size. And this is our new EV9. So in today's video, we're going to be giving it its first wash, adding a little bit of protection to it before I can get to paint correction and ceramic coating it, as well as doing a full paint evaluation to see how this stacks up against competitors in the industry. So welcome back, let's jump into it. Now let's first off talk about why we got an EV9. Most of you may be thinking you're insane for how many cars you have, but actually going into this car, we got rid of two cars. So we got rid of our 2023 ID4. We also got rid of my 05 Audi Allroad and swapped it into this. So we're now down to three cars, my 2023 Tesla Model 3 Performance, our 2024 Kia EV6, and then now the EV9. Now the whole rationale for getting into this car is just one, we really love the car. My wife and I have really been interested in EV9 since they came out. I absolutely love how they look. The 800 volt architecture of EGMP is very enticing, especially for road tripping. And in all honesty, the biggest thing is of course the space that the EV9 has. This is a true 3-row SUV with ample amounts of space, and it's a very intriguing car. Now our 2023 ID4, I actually did love the car. I didn't love the EV aspects of it. Our car was extremely cool. We had it lowered on H&R springs, had a custom one-of-one set of Martian MW05s in a 22-inch bronze wheel on the pure gray paint, and I think it looked absolutely fantastic. What I didn't love about the car though, it had no preconditioning, it had no route planning, and the range was truly terrible on the 22s. And I couldn't really stand how it looked in stock form. So after we purchased this car in late 2022, started making payments on it. And of course, as all of you know, high payments, high interest rate, long term. I was upside down on this car to the tune of about $18,000 in negative equity. And with the recent deals that Kia of Fort Collins is doing on the new EV9, all the Colorado tax credit incentives, it was time to roll that negative equity into, in my opinion, a much better car that actually has preconditioning, that has route planning, and is a much more substantial car for us. We have 3 golden retrievers now. They're all full grown, full size, and it was getting a little bit cramped in the EV6 even, and our ID4 to take them up to the mountains and have suitcases and luggage with us. They take up quite a bit of room. So having a dedicated 3-row really helped out in that department. And not to mention, of course, the wife wanted what the wife wanted. So now she's into the EV9. Now the lease deals on these are truly crazy as of right now. If you are a Colorado resident here and you work with Fort Collins Kia, which we at Out of Spec have essentially partnered with, they are running pretty insane deals on this. This is a $72,000 MSRP EV9, a big number at that. But the lease deal for Colorado residents only is this. It is $299 a month with $3,000 out of pocket for 2 years and 20,000 miles of your term of the lease. $72,000 rig for $300 a month is pretty insane. So what we ended up doing is essentially we're paying the same payment that we were for the ID4, for the EV9, and we don't have all that negative equity. Now, a lot of you may be saying you just made another financial decision that was absolutely terrible. You're leasing a car, you're not going to get your money out of it. I don't really care. I'm thrilled with this car. So I appreciate it, but we're really happy with it. So in today's video, I want to give it its first wash. I also want to add some sort of protection on it. We're going to be using Geon Wet Coat until I can come through, polish out the paint, get all the scratches out of it, put a ceramic coating on it, and enjoy it for the next 3 years and 36,000 miles. And you'll notice that we're leasing this for longer than the real deal is. Just worked out to be better in our circumstances, trading in that negative equity. Unfortunately, my cars here at the shop really get put to the back burner. I have customer cars in here all the time. And in all honesty, it's a heck of a lot better to make money and please customers than just work on my own stuff all the time. So much so that my 2023 Tesla Model 3 Performance sitting over here has not been fully paint corrected, polished, or ceramic coated in over a year since I purchased it. That's how bad it's been and how busy it's been, but I'm happy for that. So we're gonna give it its first wash, and then I wanna do a paint evaluation. This is going to be a reoccurring theme here on this channel. I used to do the paint evaluation with the build quality analysis. The videos started getting too long. I saw you guys kind of complaining about that, and I would also see when you guys would stop watching, and it was around the paint evaluation time. I think it's just too long of a video going into very minute details. So now we're gonna break these videos up. We're gonna do paint inspection, and we're gonna do full build quality analysis for those of you who care. And we do go into detail with these. So if you really think that I'm too picky, probably not the best videos for you to watch. But after this video, we'll do a full build quality analysis on the EV9 Land. So let's get this thing washed up, and then let's evaluate the paint. I just had the realization while I was washing this thing that I'm responsible for washing this absolutely massive SUV all the time. Holy smokes. In all seriousness, it is a big boy, especially getting up there on the roof. You can see I was using the pole over there. That really helps out with those high areas. But man, this thing is definitely a little bit bigger than the ID4, to say the least. So next, we're gonna put a little bit of protection on here. Now I'm going to try to avoid to put it on the glass, but we're gonna be using Geon Wet Coat. Just wanna show you a quick little demonstration here. You can see the water behavior doesn't look all that good. The hood's beating up okay, but definitely down here it's more sheeting. You can see it's almost dry, but Wet Coat is one of the easiest products to use. So let me show you how this works here. So first off, I'm gonna turn all of these to filtered water here. Boom, filtered water on. And basically, this is how you add a couple months of protection. You take Geon Wet Coat, spray it on that panel liberally. You grab your pressure washer over here. Sorry, it's hard for me to hold everything all at once. And you add immediate protection just like that. That has some of the benefits of a ceramic coating, but that lasts a heck of a lot less time. This is only really a 2 to 3 month product. I just want something on this car before I have the chance to get it polished and coated. But man, this iceberg green metallic I really love. I can tell you it does not come through on camera. It looks more blue. You get these really interesting colors on this, and man, I love it. So let me throw you guys back on the tripod. Let's get Wet Coat all over the paint, all over the wheels, and let's get this thing dried. Then we'll start our paint inspection. We are all dried up, and this thing is looking a heck of a lot cleaner. But now we move into our paint inspection. Now, during drying the vehicle, I had quite a bit of opportunity to kind of walk around the car, get a general feel for the paint quality, some issues that I'm seeing. And if I'm being totally honest with you guys, I'm pretty disappointed, in all honesty, with Kia's paint here. I think for a $70,000 vehicle, there is a lot of room to be improved here, and it is pretty disappointing, in all honesty. I just want to show you the window sticker here so you guys can see what I'm talking about. So again, this is ice green, gray interior, MSRP $71,860. At that price point, I mean, you're getting into combustion Audis, Mercedes that have a heck of a lot better paint than this. And you guys know on this channel, I do this with every company, Tesla being one of the biggest that I do. And in all honesty, people think I bash Tesla and hate Tesla. This is just real of what's going on. I show you guys exactly, this is my personal car that we have for 3 more years, and I'm pretty disappointed in the paint. I went through a full paint evaluation on my Model 3 Performance over there and found tons of issues. So this is not meant to bash a company, it's meant to point these things out so that customers are more informed, and hopefully manufacturers actually watch these videos and understand that there's a lot of room to be improved here. Now, I will caveat this in saying, do most people care? No. But if you're a detailing nerd like me, seeing the stuff that I've found on this car already is definitely a little disappointing given the such high price point on this. I don't care if a car is $25,000 or $100,000. I think paint should be better than what we're seeing as of recently. New Model 3 Performance has been absolutely horrendous as of late. One car that I've actually been decently impressed with was this Toyota Supra, which is essentially a BMW. Really decent paint on here, not a ton of dust nibs all over it. So what we're gonna do in this evaluation, first off, is look at orange peel in the paint. I like to just compare these. I'll be the first one to tell you I am not the biggest aficionado in having perfectly orange peel free paint. Modern vehicles do not have that amount of paint on them to fully wet sand them, do all of that, and then deal with scratches and stuff down the road. So orange peel to me isn't the biggest issue, but there's some areas on here that are pretty bad, to be honest. So we're gonna look at orange peel. We're then going to look at coloration throughout the vehicle. Now this has come from working with a bunch of different vehicles and seeing them here in different lighting in the shop. Just pointing out here, this bumper, completely different color from the fender. Now I've been talking about this quite a bit on social media, on this YouTube channel. Manufacturers need to get this figured out, and people say, oh, it's because the bumper is plastic, but what you'll see is on some cars, not this car, mirrors, door handles are plastic, they match perfectly, but bumpers are completely different. I just had a Volvo XC90 in here that the rear bumper was literally 10 times yellower than the rest of the car, but then the plastic trim that went around the wheel arches matched perfectly to the metal. So to me, there's something missing here. I don't know if it's where they're painted, if they're not color matching them properly. I don't know the case, but to me, it's very apparent. I mean, just standing here, you can see a clear difference in those two bumper colorations there, even as you move, and especially with the lighting. I think it's definitely disappointing. You can see my mirrors here are way lighter than the rest of the car. I mean, substantially different color. I hope you guys can tell the difference there. In person, this looks almost like kind of silver, where this has a bluish green hue to it that this doesn't have. So if I grab my Scan Grip light here, you can see it literally looks silver. Look at how different that is. I hope it comes through on camera. So let's first off look at orange peel here, and then we'll get going. First thing, just noticing this little dust nib right here, dust nib right there, boom, boom. Hopefully you can see those. Honestly, the hood looks the best out of any of the car. Actually, the orange peel here is surprisingly nice. And for those of you wondering, these are hex lights up here. I'm not the largest fan of these lights since I put them in, but they are actually really nice for looking at orange peel texture. And this looks extremely nice. Now let me show you the worst area on the car. We come back here to another plastic bit, which is a spoiler, and I hope you can tell how terrible that orange peel looks compared to the hood. It is night and day difference. Look at the difference between the spoiler and the roof. Big difference there. Very disappointing, in all honesty. Now looking down the side of the car, I would say pretty reasonable. Nothing that's out of character. Has quite a bit of orange peel, like pretty much every single car. Like my Model 3 Performance over here, you can see all the texture in there. Kia has it here as well. Down the doors, looking pretty decent, not too terribly bad. And then I get into this little kind of triangular area, I'm going to call it here. You can see the difference from over here to very, very orange peeled in this area. Maybe it's just the reflection, and I'm not catching it on the side of the doors, but definitely more orange peel than I'm used to seeing on something like an Audi or Mercedes. But again, this is a $70,000 vehicle, and I think Kia needs to justify that price point. I understand you're sitting on a 100 kilowatt hour battery pack, and it's, you know, their most expensive Kia they've ever built. But if you want to play with the big boys, stuff like this, Audi, Mercedes buyers may not put up with this, so that's a little bit disconcerting there. So next, let's move just quickly on to coloration. I just want to show you as we walk around this car. Here to here, definitely slightly different. I can catch it on different angles. The mirrors absolutely do not match, nor do the door handles. Let me lock these here so you can really see it up close to the paint. Notice how light those are? Same thing going on with the mirror. Totally different color, like not even close to the same color. Let me throw my Scan Grip light on here. Completely different shade. The biggest thing that I've been noticing here, guys, just look at the metallic difference. Like, you can see how much larger this is, definitely darker. This is like bright white almost, or bright silver. It's very strange to me how different these are from car to car. Same thing going on here. Now, this is an issue that I've been seeing on Rivians as of late as well. Door handles do not match at all, but mirror caps seem to match okay, and bumpers seem to match pretty darn decent. Not perfect, but pretty decent. Then you come back here. Can you see that in the light, how different that charge port is? So now this charge port's darker than the door handles. What the heck is going on with this paint here? I don't know if it's the way they're laying the metallic, because I do know with metallic, like, you kind of need to spray it one way so that the metallic lays down, and if it's inversed, you can get some shade difference. But just standing here, this and this are the same color, but the rest of the body is not. I mean, it is pretty apparent to me. I hope you guys can see that as well. So that's a little disconcerting. Back here, I believe this to be all metal here on the rear trunk lid. Again, this is just, ooh, I'm just sitting here looking at this. This is basically at eye level for me. The texture there is really, really bad. Moving down this side, you can see the same thing with the door handles. Totally different color from the rest of the paint. Hopefully now that it's a little bit darker on this side, you can see a massive difference there. And just look here at the mirrors. Mirrors, same exact thing going on. They're kind of this more powdery white, where this is powdery white as well compared to the other panel. You can see a huge difference there. Now, do I think most people are going to know this or notice this? Maybe not, but it's something that I look at on cars. You know, I just drive around town and my eyes are just tuned to see defects. That's what I do as a professional detailer, is try to remove defects, try and remove scratches, sanding marks, all of those things. So my eye directly goes to stuff like that. Now, the interesting thing here with EV9, especially on the higher trims, I don't know if you actually get this on the lower tiered trims, but you get the lights that light up here through the paint. It's a very, very cool effect. One thing I'm going to talk about in my build quality review that I'll quickly touch on here, these crack like crazy. I've been all over the EV9 forums. I've been on them since the car really came out, and people are saying that these are shattering with even paint protection film over them. So that's something that's a little disconcerting, and I have a feeling if this becomes an issue for Kia, that they're having to replace a lot of these, they're probably gonna stop doing this, which is unfortunate. If you get a matte one, this is just molded plastic, where this to me is like very brittle, hard acrylic or some sort like that. So a little strange there. So overall, so far, I would say the paint matching, you know, bumpers, plastic areas on this is actually quite poor. I mean, just standing here, the mirror is totally a different color. I can tell on the door handles as well. Front bumper really, to me, does not match whatsoever. I mean, you can just see it right there. May just be the reflection and it's making it look worse here, but I definitely see it, especially outside. So that's not ideal. Next, I want to get into defects. Now, just standing here, seeing this right here, big sanding mark, and big sanding mark right here. I'm going to shut the lights down, go through this whole thing, and put little pieces of tape around defects I see. The other frustrating thing is, we do have a great relationship with Fort Collins Kia, but I just have to point this out here. Leaving adhesive like this is not great. I'm thinking of somebody who is not a professional detailer, who's not going to immediately polish their car, and you're going to have to deal with all of these marks all over the car. Just as I walk around here, you look at the A-pillar, marks, marks, marks here. This is all from the adhesive that Kia puts all over these. So they put plastic coverings over them. The entire interior looks like, we're worried about straws. Kia is doing the world a huge disservice throwing 10,000 pieces of plastic to help protect the interior during shipping. It's really, really sad to see how much plastic they actually use in here that are literally tear off and throw away in the trash. That's a little sad to see, but I'm noticing this absolutely everywhere. You can see more adhesive here. That's just taking the covers off. Now, on the flip side, I don't want the dealership going in here removing all that because they're probably going to scratch these up. Now this car is a little bit of a funny story. So I told the guys over there, hey, don't want it washed. It had the entire interior covered in all of that plastic. I wanted to take it off for you guys. Something got miscommunicated. They washed it. And yeah, it's pretty scratched up. I'll be the first one to tell you that. You're going to see it in this video. The paint is not perfect here, which is not super nice to get on a $70,000 car, causes more work for me. And again, I'm imagining somebody who's like me purchasing a $70,000 EV9. Now you're having to get a real in-depth paint correction. Let me just show you these B pillars here. Like, yikes. Like, this is a brand new car. We can do better than that. Now, I don't know if they come from the factory like this. I've seen some other cars from other dealerships around here. They were scratched up as well, but like this to me is just pretty frustrating on a brand new $70,000 car. This happens with Audi and Porsche, Mercedes, Lamborghini, Ferrari, McLaren, all of that. But it's, again, I just want to point this stuff out so you guys can see that. So let me shut the lights off here. I'm going to do my full evaluation. I'm going to show you all of the little marks like this. You can really see that sanding mark there. See how this paint looks. I'm going to point out dust nibs, sanding marks, deep imperfections other than coloration and texture and things like that. So let me do that and I'll be back in a minute. So I've just spent the last 15 minutes or so walking around the car, and all of these green marks all over the vehicle are all factory defects. These are either dust nibs, sanding marks, or rotary polishing marks, and definitely seeing quite a bit of stuff here. Is this as bad as the new Model 3 Performance that I recently did? No, but there's definitely some issues going on here. So let's jump into these. Now I showed you these earlier. There are two little dust nibs, one there. Sorry, it's really hard to see this and get the camera focusing. Right there, right there. Not ideal to say the least. Big old sanding mark right here. You can see it in my headlamp as I move around. You can just see it's literally a dull spot in the paint. So that means they sanded something there and just quickly polished it out, but didn't get everything gone. I can see ever so slight bit of a little, it's going to be hard to get on camera, but I can definitely tell there was a dust nib there, so that's why that happened. This area is a little interesting. Let me get my light on it. You may be able to see it there. That little spot right there. That is actually from a bag, essentially, that they put on the car. Now, this used to be a massive problem with Audi. I used to work with an Audi dealership and would fix all bag rub issues. So essentially what would happen, the cars would get shipped over here from Germany or wherever they're being built at. They would come into the Houston port. They're normally rail yarded up. And then to get from the rail yard up to the dealerships, they're put on a big hauler. So you'd have like 8 Audi Q7s on it. The problem with those is they would put these big white bags on there that were somewhat form-fitted, but they would kind of loosen up over time. And you can see, traveling 75, 80 miles an hour down a highway, those bags that are not perfectly fitting sit there and rub. Not to mention the cars had been sitting in a rail yard collecting dirt, dust. We would actually have cars come in where they would basically, like a sharp edge like this, it would completely go all the way down to the metal. The whole hood would have to be resprayed. We were seeing that on rear spoilers. It was happening a lot on, $100,000+ Audis at the time. So definitely a little bit disappointing. But moving on here on the A-pillar, with all piano black, like everything, of course. Some rotary trails up here, nothing too severe. Those kind of white haziness right on the side of the light there. Not the end of the world. I see that on every single manufacturer. Here we have yet another sanding mark. Just wanted to point this one out again. We also have a very, very, very nasty dust nib. This is one of the worst I've seen pretty much on any car, but you can see that edge there. The problem with this would be if you were to try and sand that out like you would those on the hood, that would probably go all the way down to the metal because that looks like a big dust nib in there. It's a little unfortunate. You can really see it when you walk up to the car, so not ideal there. Areas down here, more piano black. That's one thing with the land trim here. You get a lot of piano black. Probably my least favorite material on the planet, but a little bit of rotary polishing marks down there. You'll see a lot more on the other side. The strange thing to me here is it's not like they're polishing every single one of these arches. It's only a select few. This one, for example, has not been polished. Now it's scratched all hell, of course, from, you know, being washed improperly, but it is what it is. Now I come back here to this arch and you can start seeing some of that ghosty haze. Boom, right in there. That's all rotary polishing marks. That's done at the factory. Sometimes that can be done at the port. It really just depends. Same thing going on here. Definitely some marks in this piano black as well. Oop, just found one more dust nib right there. Hopefully you can see that. So a few dust nibs around. Are they that bad? No, those could easily be sanded out. Would I prefer they're not there? Yeah, of course I would. That's definitely not what we like to see on vehicles. My other light just died here, but you can easily see all of those rotary polishing marks. That's what it looks like unpolished. That's rotary trails all over there. This one has it in this particular area to the right of the tape here. And then this one also has it up there. Definitely pretty common. Up here on this A-pillar, more rotary polishing marks. Not the end of the world, but definitely something I see on all manufacturers. We have some dust nibs here that are going to be almost next to impossible to see. Try and see if I can show you. Yep, see one right here. Boom, get the light right, and then there's another one right up in there. Going to the front here, this little piano black area, rotary polishing marks. Same thing on the other side, rotary polishing marks. So let me give you my final thoughts and feelings here on the EV9. Kind of put it where I would stack it against some other vehicles. Again, just seeing all this kind of adhesive left over. Kind of frustrating. The car needs a full polish, really needs a full paint correction in all honesty with how bad all the piano black is. The paint definitely has some scratches in it. So here we have our paint meter and we're going to be measuring the paint for thickness and consistency throughout the vehicle. Now what I like to see on vehicles is between 4 to 6 mils. That's pretty much the average. Would I like to see more? Yes. When you get a paint to sample Porsche, I've seen, you know, in the 16 mil area, having a little bit more clear coat, maybe some more color coat. This is essentially measuring from the top of the clear coat, sending a signal down to the metal, sending it back up into this little tip here. So let's just go around here and get a quick evaluation on paint thickness. 527, 474, 436. So definitely a lot thicker there in the middle. Now cars these days are of course all painted by robots essentially, unless you're getting, you know, special made Rolls Royces and things like that. They may even paint those by robot. I'm not exactly sure, but you know, this for me is real indication of how dialed in or not dialed in a manufacturer has their paint booths. So far, I would actually say this is looking pretty good. I mean, I'm seeing definite bit of swing here, and that's pretty common on all vehicles. I'd of course like to see them be like that entire piece all the way down, read 5.5, but reality of modern, you know, big production vehicles, that's not always the case. It's honestly, yeah, I mean, the more I'm getting farther and farther with this car, it's actually quite consistent compared to a lot of vehicles in all honesty. I mean, you know, on Tesla, for example, I'll kind of read a hood and it's at 4 mils, and then a back rear quarter panel will be 6 mils. And I haven't seen that large of a discrepancy here. And I think the lowest reading we've seen is somewhere around there, actually, like 4.2. Haven't seen anything in the 3s, which I'm very happy to see. Let's do one here on the roof. 4.36. Is that really 7 there? Pretty high. So this panel is a little funky going on here. Definitely different from the rest of the vehicle. Pretty decent. Not amazing, but pretty darn decent. Well, let's go over my final thoughts and feelings here on the EV9 paint analysis. First off, it feels nice to get this thing a little bit more clean. Lots of work still needs to be done to this paint. Really, paint correction, polishing, get this thing coated. It's going to look amazing. It's going to be a big project, of course, just like every other one is here. So I'm excited to get that done. It is nice to get a little bit of that wet coat on there just for some sort of protection against bugs, rain, all of that fun stuff to make it clean up a little bit easier than it is without any sort of protection. Now let's kind of touch on the elephant in the room, the paint. In all honesty, I'll just tell you flat out, I'm pretty disappointed in the paint. I really expected this to be a little bit nicer. Now, it is a Kia, and a lot of people may be saying, that's what you get when you purchase a Kia. I mean, do I say this is better than Tesla in ways? Yes. Would I say it's worse in other ways? Yes, absolutely I would. You know, a lot of manufacturers are really struggling with coloring plastics. I still don't understand it. Every single time I talk about this, I post on Twitter, I say something in a video. Everybody's like, bumpers are painted and plastics are painted on a different line, and there's different, you know, primers that they use on it. That's why it's different. Then you go to something like Porsche, and every single time I work on one of their cars, their bumpers match perfectly, their mirrors, every single piece of plastic matches perfectly. And I've seen that on other vehicles, but there's also cars like Rivian that still struggles like that. Tesla, of course, Lucid. I mean, there's many manufacturers that really do still struggle with that. Volvo XC90, I recently just made a post on Twitter. Bumper was not even in the same shade of white, completely different. So I would say it is disappointing. It definitely stands out to me, especially here in the lights. Now outside, I can definitely still see it. Like the mirrors for me are the one that really shows it. Door handles, you get it in a certain light. I'm looking at it here, it's completely different color. That's not an opinion, it just is different. So the other thing on this, factory sanding marks, imperfections, I would say are actually reasonable. They're not too terribly bad. I probably can count, 10 dust nibs in there. Tesla that I recently just did probably had well over 100, so 10 times worse if we're just talking dust nibs. Definitely some sanding marks on here, 2 that I found, and definitely lots of rotary polishing on all the piano black. That kind of goes for the industry. I mean, you work on a brand new $300,000 Lamborghini, it's going to have the same things on it. I've been down this ball road many of times. The other thing though is the texture. The texture is weird on this car. As you guys know, I've said this multiple times, orange peel is not really my thing. What's weird to me is how nice the hood looks, and then you get down the sides and it's like, it doesn't look great. It looks like kind of an average car. But then you go to areas like the spoiler and it literally looks like the peel of an orange. Like it is really bad. That, in my opinion, kind of unacceptable, especially for a $70,000 vehicle, needs to be a little bit better. Now, if these issues don't matter to you, honestly, not sure why you're watching this video. This is in-depth detailing stuff. But for me, this is stuff that I care about with a car. Now, does this kind of swayed me of my love for the EV9? Yeah, a little bit, in all honesty. I like to have very nicely painted vehicles, but I own 3 of them without nice paint. You have to really kind of start spending the money. Go to a Porsche or something similar like that to get very high quality paint. Eventually, that's the goal, of course. Have one of those manual GT3s, have something like that, love the paint, perfect it, yada, yada, yada. But again, it's something we live with in 2024, and my whole intention with making these videos is to make consumers that are wanting to purchase said vehicle go in and look at them, and then make manufacturers aware of this stuff. I've seen lots of improvement by companies like Rivian that actually listen to us and take critical feedback and take it in a good way and try to improve it. And then you have other companies who you tell them something, they want to argue with you and say you're wrong, and you go, okay, and then they don't change anything for years to come. If you know what company I'm talking about, you know what company I'm talking about. So these issues, are they the biggest thing in the world? No, these are very much first world problems. It just, to me, you're paying a lot of money, especially for a Kia here. I would expect them to be a little bit better. That's my opinion. You can disagree with me. That's totally fine. But I'm just telling you from a professional detailing expert who has detailed quite literally thousands of vehicles that this one's kind of average and expected more. Thanks so much for watching another out-of-spec detailing video here from Clear Detailing in Northern Colorado. Stay tuned for the video after this. We're going to be doing full build quality analysis on my Kia EV9 land. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one soon. Bye-bye.